again and welcome back to the channel. So today I have another review for you. This time it is the second version of Firefly in the G.I. Joe Classified series. I actually forgot that I picked this guy up. He was in my pile of loot from the Big Bad Toy Store. I had about 6 Joes shipped just recently and he was one of them. I do have the first version of Firefly, so I will do a little bit of a comparison later on in the review. I paid this much for him. Taking a look at the packaging, it's nothing we haven't seen before. The accessories across the top, some nice artwork and an actual shot of the image, and there he's his remote control drone down in the bottom. On the side, number 84, some more nice artwork, and on the back, complete loadout, all of his particulars, and then the QR code, more particulars here. Okay, let's open it up, take a look. Okay, so here he is out of the packaging with all of his accessories. And one thing that I've only just noticed, I haven't really picked this up on any of my other reviews, you get this nice backing in the actual tray that the figure comes in. Most of the newer figures actually do have this. Haven't mentioned it before because I literally just noticed it with this figure. So that's a nice inclusion. And then in terms of his accessories, he comes with a tactical backpack, remote control ground drone, 2 mines, a remote control, a submachine gun, sidearm, combat knife, suppressor, and night vision. Let's take a closer look at those accessories. So starting off with the ground drone. So the previous one came with a drone. This is more of a remote control car, a ground drone, whatever you want to call it. This is really nice. It does have some, well, they're not articulated, but you can actually move the tires or the wheels. It's quite straightforward, just 2 colors, has the green there, but it does have this inclusion there for a peg. So the backpack, and you can just peg the drone on. So that's a nice touch. And in terms of the backpack, this is really cool. The detail in this is very, very well done. You can see the sculpting here. He's got some grenades, some satchels, and then he has this control device down the bottom, looks like a canister, and then some sort of, it looks like a readout here. I don't know if you can pick that up. And then a bunch of pegs. So on the right, he has 2 pegs. Sorry, on the left, he has 2 pegs, his left. 1 here and then 1 higher, and then another small on the right hand side, and those are for these mines. These mines are quite straightforward, just a flat black with the red paint application, and those just plug in 1 and 2, and then the larger peg is for his submachine gun. So mine was a little bit warped, and you can see there it is still a bit warped. One of my only bugbears with Hasbro's Classifieds, that I think they've come a long way. They've made some significant improvements. But one thing that they haven't done, apart from not give us hands, but we are starting to see those. I think the new Duke, retro carded Duke figure does have hands, so hopefully we'll get fisted hands with some others. But anyway, they don't use the tougher plastic that I would prefer. I do actually have some third-party weapons which I've replaced with lots of my my Joes, because some of them just get really badly damaged. This was really, really warped in the packaging. But one thing about this which is very nice is it does have the removable clip. And then you can actually get the suppressor. So I was a little bit confused about the suppressor. I'm pretty sure it's designed so you can have it either on the machine gun or the sidearm, I think. It does look a little bit odd. I'm pretty sure. So you can get them on either. So both of these are just a straightforward matte black. Nothing really of note. Don't think that we've seen this so far, so it's not a reuse. And also with this one, not 100% sure. I also think it's probably unique to this figure. Nice that you can get the suppressor on either. Combat dagger, very, very boring combat dagger. Just a straightforward matte black. Really, really no effort here. They should have given it some, at least a silver blade, but you know, I think that might be asking too much. Then for the remote control for the ground drone, it is actually quite nice. It looks like a legit control. Those old school remote controls that you had with your Scalextric, if that reference means anything to you. And then it's got this number, just a number 3 on the actual dial itself. And then finally, his headset with his night vision. I assume he's got all different sorts of tactical lenses on there, but it's definitely got night vision on there. So he's got this, it looks like some sort of hybrid vision. He's got 1, 2, 3 lenses on there, and then that fits really, really nicely on the figure. You can actually have it just cradling the head, or for total badass mode, you can get it all the way down. So really, really nice so far. Okay, so taking a closer look at the actual figure, start off by doing just a quick comparison with the 25th anniversary edition. So this is definitely based off this version. You can see that they have gone like to like, even with the satchels, the grenades, the camo, the backpack, the submachine gun, the remote control, the sidearm. The only thing that's missing is the ground drone, but they've really, really done a great job here for the Saboteur version of Firefly. And then the actual figure itself, it's really nice. Unfortunately, mine was quite loose at the waist, so that is a bit of a shame. Really don't like the loose figures. But apart from that, the figure is really, really nice. And just very quickly, let's do a comparison with the previous version. So this was the first version that was released a year or two back now. This has pegs, and this one doesn't. And it's interesting that they decided to re-release, because I do consider this a re-release of this version before Hasbro corrected course, in my opinion, and went for the more original designs of the figures. Before that, they were going for a more futuristic, more modern look. It would have been nice, however, to have the blue version that we've seen. So there is another version of Firefly, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, where he's got his blue fatigues. So it would have been nice to get that version, but chances are we'll probably get that maybe in the retro card back. But if you look at the two side by side, there are some stark differences, very, very different in the sculpt. This one is much meaner. He has like these scars on his face, whereas this one is just a straightforward look. Obviously the camo is very, very similar, but the sculpting is completely different. This one is pinless, this one has pins. And then on the back, massive, massive flak jacket or bomb jacket. This one obviously doesn't. This one's more of a stealth saboteur, whereas this one's more of a demo version of Firefly. But side by side, I can't really pick one. I like them both. I don't know that I would display the two of them, in close proximity, because they're so similar. So there you are, a quick comparison. But in terms of the actual figure itself, very, very nicely done. As I said, it is completely pinless. He has all these nice floating, it's not really webbing, it's more of just these belts for all his grenades and his pouches. Likewise with the belt, he has a belt that goes all the way around the waist and it comes down to the holster. And in the holster, you can actually get his sidearm in there very nicely, like so. And one thing that I really appreciated, you can get this into his hand really well. Because of the way it's designed, almost like a weapon, you can see that the finger fits really, really nicely on the actual trigger. So yeah, that actually works really, really well. One of my biggest bugbears with the G.I. Joes is you don't get fisted hands or any sort of other hands, so that unless they've got something in their hands, they have this very unnatural sort of pose, whereas Firefly is not going to be a problem. You can have the remote control in one and then his sidearm or his submachine gun in the other. In terms of the overall articulation, it's nothing that we haven't seen before. It's going to be identical to everything that we've seen before, but there's probably going to be some limitations with the belt, but let's go over it very quickly. A good amount of down, decent amount of up, obviously complete rotation. It's not hindered either when you get the headgear on, it's just going to be exactly the same. Butterfly joints at the shoulder, as well as a bicep swivel, double jointed elbow, and then he does get full rotation on the peg, and then backwards and forwards for the wrist. The ab crunch, for me, yeah, he gets great ab crunch, but because it's loose here, too loose, it's very difficult to get him in a decent pose. He has this very, very loose joint, so he kind of just tips back. So that is a bit of a shame. It would have been nice if it was tighter, but you can see he gets a ridiculous amount of ab crunch. And it isn't really restricted either too much by the belt. I thought it would be, but it isn't. He's got the rolled off hips, so he gets full rotation at the waist. Drop down legs, and then he does have a thigh cut, but there is some restriction because of these pouches, or rather the claymores that he has there. It looks like claymores. And then the pouch for his sidearm, the holster for his sidearm. But you can actually get a little bit. Yeah, but you sort of have to just be mindful of those straps. And then double jointed knees. That's really tight. It's a shame. Why isn't the rest of it that tight? Yeah, oh well. He does have a cut at the boot, and then rocker and pivot at the ankle. So apart from the fact that he's loose, and that's obviously just a QC issue with my figure, articulation doesn't disappoint. Okay, so my final thoughts on the second version of Firefly in the G.I. Joe Classified series. This is a great figure, very, very nice indeed. It's a tribute to the original figure, and that's what I like. Hasbro's course correction in the last year or so, for me, has been very favourable. I much prefer these original scaled up vintage figures than those new modernised figures that we had in the first wave. And I'm very excited to see things like Recondo, Lady J and Duke in the retro cardback line. If you look at those figures compared to their counterparts, then it really does show that Hasbro have come a long way, and this is an example of that. Although the first version of Firefly was very, very nice and still is one of my favourite figures, I think this trumps it just ever so slightly. It has everything that you'd expect from a 6-inch Firefly figure. I really hope that they release the blue version, because that is the Firefly that I prefer. Never had that in the 25th anniversary, but I did have it in the vintage line, so I'd love a 6-inch blue Firefly, and come on, Hasbro's almost certainly going to release one. Firefly is a fan favourite, so why wouldn't they? The only real issue that I have with this figure is something I can't really grumble about, and that's that it's very, very loose, but that's just a QC issue. I'm sure it's not a common issue. Everything else, it really, really works. I particularly like it when you can get almost all of the accessories on the figure, and this is an example of that. No accessory needs to be left in the drawer. You can get everything loaded out onto the figure. In terms of recommendation, absolutely. If you don't have a Firefly yet, then get this one over the original. If you do have that original, then this is very similar, but for me, I think it just gives it that little bit extra than I was expecting. He is easily available. I think Big Bad Toy Store still have him. If you are here in Australia, I'm not sure if Robo Toys have him. He probably went very, very quickly. And I have seen some pre-orders on Pop Culture, but I don't think those are going to drop until 2024. So that about wraps up this review. I certainly hope that you've enjoyed it. And if you have, please do consider subscribing and give this video a like. There'll be more content in the next few days, so please stay tuned. And until then, take care.